Hey, welcome back. I know I said we'd be rebuilding a Holley 94 carburetor in this video, but I lied. I'm going to show you how to build a match set for a multi-carb intake. Let's get into it. Okay, some of the things you're going to need to get started. First are your rebuild set. There's the part number right there. I got this set from Napa. I think it's about $40. It's a pretty good set. It does come with a power valve. It comes with an 8.5 though, which would be this guy. It says 8.5. It's borderline for a single carb. Generally, it's a 7.5 for a single carb, but this would work, but not for a dual carb. But for a dual carb, you need to order some. I like using Mike's Carburetor parts. I don't know if you guys have used them or heard of them before, but they are a good one to go to. And here are my pair of 4.5 power valves. Now your power valves have to be 3.5, 4.5, or 5.5, and they have to match. You want them to match carb to carb. So, get a power valve, get a gasket, get them set aside here. Now, one thing I want to make sure you know about is if you look here at the base, nice and flat. Some power valves, I'm looking to see if I have one, but I don't see any. Some power valves have a big swoop on them. Those won't work. They won't seal because they seal right here at the base. So you need to make sure you get the correct power valves that are flat down here. Can seal because they seal right here, right in tight. So if you don't do that right, if you don't get the right one, and generally the kits don't come with the right one. This one did. This one came with a correct power valve, which is an impressive thing. I mean, it's not correct sized, you know, for the kit, but it is a correct style of power valve for these carburetors. A lot of the modern kits don't come with that. So anyway, getting started, we'll just go ahead and start with our power valve. So here's our 4.5. Get that gasket on. It's kind of a tight fit. Squeeze it on down there. Get our wrench. Only wrench you need for this job, unless you use the carburetor base trick, which I will also show you here. You thread that in. Wrench. Don't need to muscle it down. Remember, we're dealing with aluminum here. Just snug it. Now, real quick, since I mentioned it, the carburetor base trick. When you put your base on, with your gasket, of course, the way it came from the factory, it'd have two medium-sized screws that come in from the top, and one big screw comes in from the bottom. A way you can customize here to make this work a little better for yourself is you replace this slot head screw with a regular hex head bolt. And what that does is when this is mounted on the car and you've got all your linkage hooked up, everything's all set, but you need to maybe swap out jets or you need to pull your carb off and take a look at it real quick, you can reach underneath with a crescent wrench or an open end wrench, and you can loosen that bolt. Whereas if this is a screw, there's no way you got enough clearance to get a screwdriver under there. These two are easy to get from the top, but that one's tougher. So when you're building, I would recommend swapping out that screw. Although I'm gonna not get into that, demonstrating that in this video here. So that's in. Next thing I do, take my needle, drop it with the point facing down there. Now, one thing I did off camera that's just not fun to try to film, but I dropped my my check ball down there into the hole, and I put the spring clip back with the little arm covering up the ball so it can't fall out. Just so you know, fair warning that I cheated a little. Next, we got our 4 little round black washers. Anyway, so you get your 4 little round black gaskets in there for your fuel rails. These are your fuel rails. Now these have a little copper washer I've already installed on this one. Got your nozzle here. This drops in over top of that. This controls your idle. This is your idle circuit. You want to make sure you can blow through that. You want to make sure you can get air through that. That goes in here. Your idle control tube goes towards the center of the carburetor. Your nozzle goes in the other side. Idle control tube. Drops in with the tube towards the center, just like that. Next, our squirter goes in. Already got the gasket on it. That drops in just like that. Now with this style, you've got your long screws and short screws, but they both use a long plate for holding them down. There's another style of these that uses a shorter plate on the upper end, but this one uses a long plate. So you go ahead and get them both started. Get them both started, finger tight, and then you just ease them down. Don't tighten these down all the way too much. You can actually over tighten them one way or the other. So just get them kind of snug. Next, same with the other side over here. They're a little harder to get in by hand. So you just kind of guide them in there. Get them started. Tighten them down a little at a time each side. Make it so you guys can see. Just snug them up a little. Come back and snug these up a little. And come back and check these again. You're wanting to make sure that these towers, these nozzles are sealing against those black gaskets we put in. There we go. Okay, next what we're going to do, we're going to put our accelerator pump in. Here's our brand new accelerator pump, came in the kit. We're reusing our spring, which we cleaned off in the ultrasonic cleaner. If you didn't watch that video, go back and watch it. It's a good one. So what I like to do is the spring on, I assemble all of this out of the carb body. So spring goes on, you can press it. Clip goes on, tabs down. Press that. And the rod here goes on like that. The clip has notches to center it right there on that rod. And then they just go in. Be nice and careful here. You don't want to mess up your accelerator pump seal. This hole tapers down as you get lower. Once you get down in there, that's the pumping action that draws your fuel in. Now what I'm going to do is I have not ordered my 49 size jets yet. So I'm not going to be installing jets. I will put the covers on for the sake of showing you guys where they go, but I'm just going to put them on loose. I'm not going to snug them up. Here are the plug covers. The plugs, I guess. They're what gives you access to the jets. You put these seals on. It's pretty easy to tell which ones go on there. And of course your jets would go in through here. I'm just going to put them on now finger tight because I do not have my jets. I am running a 4.9 jet on this. So each carb will have the same 4.9 jets. Those are two of the biggest factors now for a matched set when you're running a 2x2 or a 3x2 intake or a 4x2 or whatever. You got to make sure your jets all match. You got to make sure your power valves all match. Your economizer valves, they have to match. You also generally want to make sure that the style of towers are the same. I'm using the same carb bodies, the 9199s. I'll put somewhere up here the years that the 9199 came out of. I believe it's 1939. I said it in my last video, but keeping all that history straight is not always the easiest. Anyway, you want these to try to match. Next thing we're going to do is set this aside for the moment. We're going to start working on the top here. So here's our seat. Our new seat came in the kit and our new gasket. Gasket on, that drops right in here. This is the seat part of your needle and seat. So this is the part your fuel comes in up here. And the needle, as your float, what happens is your fuel fills up in the bowl. This thing's empty. It floats. That's why it's called the float. It lifts up and it'll push a needle up here and it'll seat the needle into the seat. And that'll stop fuel from coming in. It's how you control the flow of fuel. Snugged up. Okay. Brand new needle. Has a nice coating on it. One thing I'll tell you is modern regular gas, that ethanol in it, will eat this coating right up. This whole thing's rubber. It's a rubber tip on it. An older one, I don't have one sitting here, but an older one would have a metal tip, maybe with a little coating of some kind on it, but a metal tip. These rubber ones work great, but they get eaten up by that ethanol. They just do. I know guys who have rebuilt carburetors and had this tip just gone a couple of years. It's crazy. Anyway, it's in. Next goes our float. Float sets on like this. Pin just pushes through like so. And your carburetor kit's going to come with specs and a measuring device for measuring this. And you'll measure off the height of the deck here. And it's a little 90-degree square kind of deal. You measure down, you flip it over, and you'll measure this measurement and this measurement. And you adjust it by removing it, and you bend this tab back here, and you bend this tab under here. And that adjusts your throw. It adjusts how much fuel essentially it'll allow in. And as you can see there, sometimes that needle will stick. Hopefully your fuel pressure will knock it loose. But if you ever have a little issue there, you can always give it a little tap right there and drop that needle down. It is a common problem. So next, take our new gasket here. Now, I'm not going to use any right now, but sometimes, especially on an older body, sometimes I'll hang these up and I'll spray a little of that copper head gasket and the can stuff on them. It just, just a little bit on this gasket. Just gives it a nice tack and it helps it seal. You're going to want to crank this one back here. Set this down right over the top. Just like that. Now this gasket has a little overhang here. You can take a razor blade and cut that off. It is not necessary. Screws go in. This is not real complicated stuff, Rebuilding a carburetor, I think, for so many people has turned into this scary, it's like rebuilding an engine or something, just complicated moving parts inside there. And you could just break it if you just look at it wrong. Never work again. Or you get it apart and you never get it back together. There are more complicated carburetors for sure that are more challenging. But generally speaking, everything in automotive is made so that people with average intelligence can take things apart and put them back together the way that they came apart. And all these in. Not those. There's one. Okay. I'm leaving one out. I got more out on the bench. I didn't bring enough in apparently. Anyway, that's how it works. Snug them all up. And you really shouldn't need any kind of sealant. Don't let me see any of you guys putting silicone on any of these gaskets, near any of these gaskets. None of that. No silicone. It pooches out. It squeezes into orifices. It gets into stuff. You'll never get it out. It is a pain in the butt. It's not made for carburetors. Don't use silicone on these. Got your base gasket here. Goes on like that. On goes your base. I'm going to use the screw I told you not to use, because I got one sitting right here and I'm putting this together for you. But rest assured that when I put this thing together for the last time, I'll be putting a hex-headed bolt on there. Take these two screws here, one here, one here. Now these you leave normal. You could put hex heads on here if that's easier for you, but honestly, you can get at these. You can get at these from above, so I always just leave them. They're nice bolts. They're stainless steel, I think. Last little bit here. I always start out on the 2, right in the middle. This goes in there. You got 1, 2, and 3 for settings. It clicks in like that. That actuates your butterflies. That's pretty much it. That's how she works. It's not hard. You guys can do it. There are other videos that'll give you other information, but you know what? You can get as technical as you want. There's a lot more depth you can get into on this if you really want to, but let's just keep it simple. What I just went through there, that's the easy stuff. You know, it's just not hard to do. This is going to be a good running carb now. Got to put that last screw in. This carb I haven't done yet, but you do it exactly the same as you did this one. 3.5, 4.5, or 5.5 power valve. And you want to run a 48 or a 49 jet on all of it. That's for a 2 carb. For a 3 carb, you're going to drop down further. You're going to go to a 2.5 or a 3.5 power valve. And you'll go to an even smaller, like a 47 jet. I don't think there is a 48 jet. Maybe there is. I'm not sure. But 47 jet is what you'll drop down to for 3 carburetors. And so on. You know, as you go, there's a certain amount of testing that you have to do, just like they did back in the day. There's a certain amount of hooking it all up, running it. You know, it's got a little too much gas. I need to go down a jet. Or I need to change my power valves. There's a certain amount of that you got to do, and that's the right way to do it. That's hot rodding. You know, a lot of guys they'll either buy carbs from secondhand, or they want everything cookie cutter order it out of catalog, and oh, it doesn't work. Oh, it floods. Oh, it runs like crap. I'm going to go to a single 4-barrel, or I'm going to go to an Edelbrock, or it doesn't work. No, it works just fine. You just have to tinker with it a little. You have to tinker with it. You got to dial it in. But anyway, that's it. Simple. Carbs, you want them to match. Personally, I like the body numbers to even match. They don't have to. The bodies don't change that much, but I like them to match. I like using the early ones because it just adds a little more period authenticity to my traditional hot rod build. But make them match. Power valves and jets. Mostly power valves seems to be the issue guys run into. It's mostly not jets. But appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully we can get back out in the shop and start working again soon. I have been battling a terrible lung infection and cough. It's the longest I've gone without coughing in this video, and I've edited a few out for sure. And hopefully get feeling better here soon. And stay tuned because there is going to be some coverage at the Grand National Roadster Show. Yep, I'm going to be going. Going to be hitting up the Grand National Roadster Show and getting some coverage, shaking some hands and kissing some babies, and it'll be a good time. So I'll get some footage there, and I hope you guys enjoy that. Anyway, thanks for watching. I know, here's one little thing I want to cover at the end here. I know a lot of you guys are not hitting that like button. I know that I have less likes on videos than I have friends watching the video sometimes that I know that are watching the video. So please, if you don't mind, that little thumbs up down there below the video, click on it. That helps me so much. Drop a comment. That helps me so much. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. If you like the content, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps me so much. It helps my videos grow. It helps them reach more people. Helps me get more views, more subscribers. Helps the channel grow. So I appreciate it. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Catch you on the next one.